welcome to my audience today. Today we're going to launch into a very interesting discussion in this series where we're speaking with the founder and CEO Kishore. And today's episode is about our customers. And who is our customer? Our players are our very, very important customers, ranging from the age of 4, 5 to going as beyond 23, 24. So we have a huge spectrum of players that we work with every single day. Let's talk with Kishore about how do we interact with them, what goes on in the training programs that are run at different centers. So let's hope for a good interaction today. Hi Kishore.
Hi Shruti.
So like you heard me say that we're going to talk about our customers. Our customers are as small as those toddlers who are still probably learning to walk and run, and to the age of players who have made up their minds of what they want to do in life and what they want to do in football. So, what has been your experience in the past when you have interacted with players of different ages?
So the players are the people for whom we started this company in the first place.
Yeah.
So the top priority for the entire organization is the well-being of the players that we have.
Yeah.
Now these players, like you said, range from the age of 5 years until 23, 24, 25. And during this journey, the personality changes, the whole nature of an individual changes between, say this, from being a toddler to a grown-up, a complete adult. So we have had to learn about how their priorities change, their level of understanding changes, their approach changes, their personalities change as well. So yeah, I mean, we had to build a full stack company for them because the whole journey of a sports person in India is broken in the sense that if someone wants to pursue any sport seriously, beyond a few years, they are unable to clearly see there's no reliable platform or reliable pathway for them which they can pursue.
Yeah.
But with what we have built over the last 13 years, now we can guarantee there's a guaranteed pathway for all for both beginners as well as the advanced children who want to pursue the sport more seriously or up to the professional level. We have built a continuous pathway, so there is no breakage over there.
Okay.
So it just ensures that there is more reliability, there is more trust on the sport itself.
Yeah. So interesting to hear a glimpse of what a pathway looks like, but maybe a discussion for another day. Right now, I want to take you back to a comment that you made last week when we were talking that football is larger than life. But very often, when we speak to players who aspire to be international footballers, say that football is my life. So how do you break that with them that no, what they're thinking is probably incorrect, or how do you change that perception that they have?
It is just understanding the reality. Isn't it true that football is only a part of life and it is not life or the complete life? I mean, we just have to ask the right questions and the children figure it out themselves. They understand.
Okay.
For example, if I ask you if football is your life, are you willing to give and take a life for football? Of course, the answer is no. It is. It's a very simple. Even a very young child can figure it out. So it is all about asking the right questions and making them aware of what is the truth and what is the reality.
Okay.
Because the more closer to reality we live, the happier we will be. So now, then the question arises. I am probably, or we are probably the only football club in the country who would say that football is not so important. Life is more important.
Right.
But that is the reality, right? So now then the question arises: so what role does football play in our lives? Now football is a game designed by humans. We can use football to make our life better, or if we fail to do that, football can also make our life worse if we approach it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a number of examples across the world how highly talented, highly skilled, and highly celebrated footballers, they struggled once their career was over, or even during their career also. Even today there are so many examples where some of the top footballers in the world, they struggle with their lives. So football is not bigger than the life. It is upon analyzing even a little bit, it becomes very clear that football was meant to, or football is meant to enhance life, not the other way around. Life was not meant to enhance football, So if you understand that, then not only we are able to live a much more happier and constructive life, but at the same time, our football performance also increases. We also start playing better football, and because we start enjoying football more, because now we realize that football is there too. Football is relevant only as long as it is enhancing my life instead of making my life miserable. So once you start enjoying football, it becomes constructive, and you also develop your skills faster, and your performance, goes up several notches.
Interesting. So it's interesting to note when you say that this kind of concept, these deep interactive discussions are done with young players, young children who come to play football on the ground. Can you help us deep dive into what is this kind of detailed discussions, or I could call it understanding of life, education that you do with the players?
See, so the way we train our players there are two parts to it. One is like the underlying approach is that of guided discovery. By guided discovery, what we mean is we ask the right questions to the players and let them figure out the answers for themselves instead of us telling them the answer. So when we tell them the answer, we tell them what to do. For example, if we tell them, while the match is going on, if you tell them, why don't you pass to X, why don't you, shoot the ball, or why don't you just hold the ball, then what we are doing is we are actually giving them the answer. So it is like, during our high school days when we were about to solve a math problem, just going behind and looking at the answer. So it doesn't really enhance my understanding, my analytical skills, or my understanding of the game. It doesn't improve my own awareness as a player. So what we encourage our coaches, what we train our coaches to do is to ask them the right question at the right time and let them figure out for themselves. Because things are very logical. If one thinks logically, we arrive at the same answer in a given situation. For example, we would ask the player, saying, in such a situation, what options do you have? Instead of telling them, you have option 1, 2, and 3. We ask them, what options do you have? And if the player is not able to see beyond option 1 and 2, then all the coach would again do is nudge the player to discover option 3 as well. Again, by asking the right question. So this sort of a guided discovery method goes a long way in improving the awareness of the players. Now the other part of it is the actual physical training, the skills training. So there what we do is there are 5 different aspects of the game. The physical, technical, tactical, mental and social aspect. And we try to include everything into one training session. So every training session is game oriented, game based, because in a game, all these 5 skills are getting tested in a proper competitive match. So there is no reason why a training session should also not be a miniature replica or a simulation of a real game. So when we do that, it is the learning is much faster, because within a small one period of time, like 1.5 hour session, all aspects are getting worked upon. The player is getting challenged in all directions at the same time. So that's just more efficient, more effective, and gives us better results, because finally the objective is to go and play well in a match. They're already getting several aspects related to the match. They're already getting trained in those during the training session.
While the second bit of your point that you mentioned was the technical and the tactical thing might interest a lot of people, but I want to bring you back to the first one where you talked about the handling of life of the player and how he needs to build understanding of how the life works. Now what is interesting to note here is that football is a game of wins and losses. So when a team loses, there is a flow of emotions, most likely negative emotions. So how do you help a young player whose emotions are very, very strong at times and feels disappointed or disheartened with a loss? How do you handle a situation like this?
So, like I said a little while earlier, that football is just a game while life is real. So a game means that it is an artificial concept. It is not like tomorrow if football is not there in the world, it's not as if something bad will happen to humanity, right?
Yeah.
So it is a game. The reason it is called a game is that because it is not real. So when we understand that and we live life in reality and then we play games and we play football knowing that it is a game. So this realization, first of all, at a very fundamental level, if the players get this clarity that it is just a game, and it is our own choice to play this game. And the game is designed in such a way that the outcome of the game will either be a win or a loss or a draw.
Absolutely.
So it is just an outcome of a game. Now, when we get confused between our reality, our life, and the outcome of a game is when we get conflicted internally, right? But if we understand the difference, we become relaxed, number one. Secondly, what happens is whether you win, lose, or whether the result is a draw, what is important in reality, in the life of an individual, is that they learn and their understanding gets better and better. Understanding about themselves and understanding about what helps them to be happy. Like say, for example, one of the values that we follow very ardently is that of trust. So the outcome, every human being wants to live with trust. Having trust helps us to live a more peaceful and stress-free life. It's one of those things. So now the whole match or the entire competition or the entire football training and preparation towards a competition and finally performing in a match, this whole process can be seen as a means, as a medium to develop more trust in ourselves. Trust means both integrity and confidence inside us, right? Self-confidence. So when when players go out there and play, irrespective of the result, they can, after the match, they can come back and evaluate whether they could perform the way they felt they could, right? Whether they could perform as per their own understanding and their own expectations. So when you do that, that's a much bigger thing because that's something that is real. It affects me in reality, unlike the outcome of a game. So when I realized that, then irrespective of the result of the match, I can gain in confidence because it is possible that I'm playing against India playing against Brazil, and we know that there's 99.99% chance that we will lose the match. So even losing the match, but performing as per our own expectations, giving a good tough fight, performing well, increases our self-belief and our self-confidence because we did as per what we believed that we could do. Instead, and the result becomes redundant. So that sort of understanding is what we try to develop in the children, and that sort of it's not just players actually. Even in business, also at work as well, it is the same philosophy that helps us to keep our calm and enjoy our work, right? Irrespective of the monthly financial results or the annual results, if it enhances our understanding. In the long run, we will always improve in the long run because every experience we are using it to learn. Most experiments, when you build a startup as well, most of your new experiments have will fail because experiment itself means that the degree of failure will be very high. It's an experiment, right? But we don't get discouraged by failed experiments because the objective of the experiment is not to win it, but to kind of get better knowledge so that eventually we win. Eventually means continue on a continuous basis in the long run. We build a good life for ourselves. So that's kind of in a nutshell how we try to help our players beyond sports. Of course, we do very good technical training, very good skill training, tactical training, but then we have realized that is not enough. So what we are saying is something additional to that, which is much deeper and which can impact and transform our lives of whoever is able to understand it a little bit.
While I might agree with you theoretically about the entire process that you explained, but as a parent or as a person who interacts with kids very often, have you faced the challenge that the kids will not understand this deep conversation that you're doing, or it is beyond their capacity to understand about logic and about these conversations of life that you're doing? So do you think is that a challenge?
That is a challenge sometimes because not everyone has the same capability and capacity to understand. A lot of it, I mean, the potential is there for everyone to understand. However, because of the social setup, what kind of signals they're getting on a daily basis from their family members, from the school, from their friends, from the society, from social media, etc. There's a certain influence of that as well. And then there's a lot of, sometimes there could be a lot of negative, because a lot of, my belief is that a large part of the society sends out signals which are more fear and greed based. But understanding is something which is totally opposite. Like the more fear and greed there is, the less we tend to understand, and vice versa. So if we work on a system, or if you're trying to develop a system which is totally understanding based, and we want to minimize fear and greed, then all the signals, external signals that an individual is getting, which are in the opposite direction, obviously that kind of works in the opposite direction, like I said, and that stops us from that stops an understanding to develop in a more faster way. So to that extent, depending on how fearful a person is, the rate of understanding can be different. So with some kids, for example, who are quite fearless and who are open-minded, they pick it up instantly. Right? While there are other children who have been so conditioned through fear and greed that it becomes very difficult for them to let go of their existing mindset and embrace new knowledge and new concepts.
So I would like to take it further and take an example of the fact that a typical athlete or a footballer needs to maintain a particular lifestyle, a diet, an exercise regime, practice regime, and then also a sleep pattern. So this is a very strict lifestyle a footballer needs to adhere to. Now, how do you make sure that the players that play with us maintain this kind of a lifestyle? Because I think if they see their peers spending time on social media, playing video games, or eating junk food, how do you ensure that the players stay on track?
We run two programs. One is residential and one is non-residential. So in the residential program, we have the entire setup where the discipline is maintained. Like as far as diet is concerned, sleep patterns. Every morning we do check how well the players have slept and so on, because the entire system is customized to that of an aspiring athlete. However, for the non-residential program, they spend 3 to 5 hours with us every week. Rest of the time, they are with their friends, family, school mates, and so on. So there we have limited influence, because they're also under the influence of other people. But then that's all right. I think in both the cases, though, I feel that the most important thing is for us to be able to make the player understand the relevance of good sleep, relevance of good diet, relevance of remaining fit, mental and physical wellness. Because those who understand the relevance, they start doing it on their own by choice. So there is no one enforcing them from outside. So it doesn't look like a regime. It doesn't look like an implemented regime, like a military regime or something. On the other hand, those who don't understand, to them it feels like a lot of external imposition, which doesn't give the right results. So what I'm trying to say is that in both the cases, what is important is for us to be able to explain and make them realize, both the players and the parents realize the importance of every activity. Whatever is relevant to what I want. If I want to be a professional footballer, then there are certain inputs that are required. And the moment I understand that, it becomes naturally I start following those by choice. If I'm otherwise, whatever is irrelevant, I stop doing it. And whatever is relevant, they stick with me. And that's how the human mind works. It is our understanding of what is relevant and what is not relevant that makes us choose what we want to, what we do and what we don't.
So this understanding of, I may say, cause and effect and input and output seems very profound. And when that done right with players as young as about 6, 7, they start to understand that really well. So that seems to be the most important factor in their long-term success in life as well as football.
a very important factor, which is this ability to reflect and analyze and come to a conclusion, saying what do I want first of all, and what is the input that is required to get what I want.
True.
Right. So that ability that depends on thus my ability to reflect and analyze. And then that's where again the whole guided discovery bit, which we discussed a little while back, comes into play. So when we do guided discovery, when we ask them the right questions, it makes them reflect and it makes them analyze without them knowing it. Right? It is not necessary for them to know that they're reflecting or analyzing in the initial stages because young kids, may not have that, they have developed that capability yet. But it is important to put them in this process so that over a period of time, when they grow up to be, adolescents or young adults, they develop a more conscious mind and they're conscious of their ability to reflect and analyze and come to the right conclusions. So, and that's where, and that will help them throughout their life in every walk of life, not just in their football. I think, a thinking footballer is always better than a non-thinking footballer. A thinking cricketer is always better than, or when I say better, it is more effective, I would say, in playing that game. So those are things that we try to incorporate, and we are also learning, in the process. And the more we learn and understand, we try to implement all those things into our curriculum when children join us.
When you mentioned the curriculum or the style that exists in the sports world, if I may, sometimes we have seen coaches and managers becoming very aggressive, even while a tournament or a match is going on, there's yelling and screaming and instructions given from the touchline. But the way we see the culture here is, you like to say that we need to refrain from doing things like this.
Yeah.
So what is the alternative to this? How do you push the team to perform best? How do you make sure that they win most of the matches? Because winning is important, is it?
Winning, more than winning, I would say that it is important to build your confidence. That is more important. Right? Okay. So basically what happens is when you win a match, you feel more confident. Okay. However, sometimes even after winning, we may not gain confidence if we played badly and we won against a team which we knew we should have won by 5-0, but we end up winning by only 1-0. So we have not played well. So then does your confidence increase? Your confidence doesn't increase. So then that kind of win is meaningless. It is meaningful only to the extent that it can give me 3 points and I can move up the table and so on. But as an individual, it is not adding much to the life of that player because it is not adding to his confidence, right? Or her confidence. So in that way, winning is fine, but the more underlying factor is whether we are able to gain in confidence and belief or not. Now coming to the style of certain coaches to shout at the players and getting frustrated and angry at the players and mistreating the players, I feel they do so. The intent is right. Their intent is to perform only. However, they don't know a better way. So they don't know how, without shouting, we can get the player to perform at his or her highest level, the best of their abilities. So when you don't know the answer, you tend to get frustrated. You tend to shout. And that frustration itself manifests in the form of a loud noise coming out from our mouths, right? And that is true for every walk of life. Like even in business also, some people, get frustrated very easily. They get angry and they start shouting. But what it means, I think that, based on my limited experience, I feel that people start shouting when they don't know any better, when they don't have a solution in mind. So then they try to use force. Now this force can be in the form of threats, in the form of, raising the voice and shouting and calling names, and so on, abusing and so on. So the same thing happens on the football field as well, in a cricket field, any field, right? So if you know better that the best performance comes when we are relaxed and when we are motivated and when we are inspired, right? So if coach understands that, and if the coach has the ability to, give inspiration, which will happen only when the coach himself is inspired. He has got inspiration in himself or herself. So if you're able to give inspiration, if you're able to give confidence, if you're able to give respect to the players, why won't they perform at their best? I mean, you tell me, like, in your experience so far in life, when have you performed the best? When you were stressed, when you were under stress, when you were fearful, or when you were relaxed and you're really happy and you were fully motivated and inspired to do something?
Yeah. No, absolutely. A relaxed mindset is always better to perform or to get better results. Stress never helps.
Exactly. So that's the understanding that we have arrived at. And so far, we are happy with the way it has given us results. And we continue to pursue this until the time that we get a counter example, or until the time there is sufficient reason to believe that this doesn't give us the desired outcomes. But I'm quite sure that we are on the right path, and this is the right approach to nurture children and young people.
Very interesting to note the kind of work that is going on with the players in BBFS, and to just sum all of it up, this focus on life skills along with the intense focus of technical and tactical skills is, I think, helping us build holistic individuals, not just players, but a more individuals who can live a more holistic life. So yes, that I think is one of the key reasons why our players and our teams are doing well across different age groups and different tournaments.
Yes.
So interesting discussion again, Kishore. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you again for yet another discussion soon.
Thank you, Shruti. I think we are getting better and better at it. We should do it more often. I totally enjoyed my conversation and look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Kishore.
See you.